your host, Devin. Thank you for joining me today. And today my topic is travel pay and how that differs from permanent pay. So basically, essentially, as a permanent employee, you are taxed at 100% of your earnings. Are taxed. Now, as a travel therapist, it's a little bit different. You get only a portion of your income is taxed. So roughly around, it varies from assignment to assignment, but about 50%. So you can see right away that there's a big earning potential difference between being a permanent employee and being a travel therapist. I know I've worked in the travel business for the last 10 years, and I've spoken to a lot of different therapists, and they often think to themselves, you know, I'm kind of interested in being a travel therapist. And some of it's for geographic reasons, like I've talked to a couple people that want to move to the Pacific Northwest, or maybe it's to check out a different setting, and others want to just have a chance to earn a little extra income, maybe to pay off some student debt, or they just want to have better earning potential for what they want to do because maybe they want to take some time off. But it does, as this shows, it does show a big improvement in how much earning potential you can make as a travel therapist. So what actually is travel pay? It's actually set by the General Services Administration, the GSA. It's a branch of the federal government. It's called a per diem rate. So it's actually the good old government that sets this. And it's based on two things. It's a housing rate and a meals and incidentals. There's two different rates. You'll see that it's a per day pay that you get. And for example, in Grand Rapids in June of 2019, it's $118 for your housing daily allotment you can receive. And for meals and incidentals, it's $61 for a total of $179 that you can get tax-free if you're working a travel assignment. Now, what does it mean that you work a travel assignment? The travel industry and staffing industry itself has kind of adopted some general guidelines for you to use so to kind of stay within the interpretation and the heart of the law. So here's some guidelines that you can use to see whether or not you would qualify for a travel therapy pay. The first is it has to be 50 miles from your place of residence that you're calling home. Because the per diem rate, it's designed to offset the extra expenses you have by having two different locations that you're living in. So if, let's say I live in Grand Rapids and I have a home there and I choose to move to Lansing, Michigan, which is about 68 miles away, to work a travel assignment, I'm gonna have two costs, two housing costs, two Wi-Fi bills, two electric bills, all that stuff is gonna be duplicated. So the government says, well, let's offset that a little bit and let's give you some of it tax-free. So you have to be living 50 miles away from where you typically live. Second, you actually have to be paying rent or something. You have to be living in that location. So you can't be living in your own primary residence. So no primary residence living. And then the last thing is it has to be a temporary assignment. This is something that the IRS and GSA are very clear on. It's if it lasts more than a year, you're no longer considered eligible for the per diem rate. It's just allowed for something underneath that 52 weeks. Then you're cut off. So what does this actually look like in your paycheck? So you'll actually have two different things that will come into your paycheck. One is you'll have that per diem rate. And the first thing you'll notice with the per diem rate is there'll be no tax. So whatever comes in goes directly to your bank. There's nothing that the government takes away. The second one is your hourly rate. And that will be subject to every normal tax. So federal, state, and if applicable, any city tax is going to be taken out. So this goes 100% right into your checking account, and this is, well, I don't know, maybe 75% of it comes in to your checking account. In actuality, it's about a $5 to $7 an hour difference that goes in. Pretty significant. Lastly, let's just take an example of what this can actually mean for you. So let's make up a fictitious person. She works with us here. Her name is Sally. Now let's say Sally lives in Lansing, Michigan. But she wants to take an assignment. She's a speech therapist, and there's a cool school in Grand Rapids that needs her for the summer to teach some summer school. Grand Rapids, Lansing, so the first qualifier is geography. So it has to be 50 plus. I've already looked at this, and as we mentioned earlier, it's 68 miles away. So the first checkbox of having to live more than 50 miles away is good. And then Sally also, the second one, she has to rent someplace in Grand Rapids in order to qualify. So she's got a condo for 13 weeks that she's assigned a lease on. So she has to have a lease or living somewhere else to qualify. She's got that box checked. And lastly, as far as she knows, it's temporary. The assignment that she signed right now is just for 13 weeks. So she qualifies, and she can actually double that, go another 13 or triple it, do a total of, trying to do the math here, 48, and she'd still be underneath the requirements for the per diem rate. So it's temporary. She's got that one checked as well. So you can see there's a big earning potential difference between being a permanent employee and a travel therapist. And that's why it looks pretty lucrative to be that. We have other blogs on our website that will help you with deciding whether or not you want to be a travel therapist. We have pros and cons of being a travel therapist, so I encourage you to check out our website to see if there's anything else you want to learn about being a travel therapist. And also, love for you to check out our podcast as well. Thank you for your time. Thanks for listening.